Hello everyone. This is me Sakshi Agrawal, and today I am here to explain about a new microservice project which I am being doing since past 2 weeks, and here it's my new project which is processing payment plan. So before starting to the project, firstly, we should be knowing about the hierarchy of microservices based project. The main hierarchy of microservice project is something like will be having the code with its functionality and with the different packages name. Previously, for the normal Spring Boot project, we will be having a package. This is the package which starting we have download from Spring IO, right? So this is com.cpt.payments, right? Under that, we will be having several differentiation between other packages, like we will be having few of the layers, that is controller, service, implementation, validation, some pojo classes, exception classes, constant classes, and etc. Under this each packages we will be having different classes, which is known as a payment controller class, service class, service implementation class, pojo classes, right? So let's start with the main class where the microservice project starts. When the user hit to the API, it came to the controller, right? So this is the structure of the controller, which is the payment controller, which comes under the payments controller, com.cpt.payments.controller. Under this controller, we will be having one method, random method. As we are creating CURD operation, same we will be having another method called sale, and under that we will be having a request body, and with this request body we will be passing some request class. When we will be receiving from the browser, it will be coming in the form of request class, which is payment request. So after receiving this, we will be doing some business logic with this request body, and we are sending a response, that is payment response, to the browser or to the end user in the form of response entity. So let's start it. First, I will be showing you with the running my application while running. Let's see. It's like Spring Boot application. It started. Here it is. It's taking a little bit time. Now the Spring Boot project application started. See, while running this application, we can see this application is running on 8081 port number. I have already configured in a Postman the API call. So I will show you that API call. This is http colon slash localhost 8081 payments slash initiate, right? Under this, we were passing a JSON response in the form of string. For all the request which is coming from the browser are in the microservices are come under the JSON form, which is in known as a string format. So what is this we will talk about later. First, let's see the first I'm passing the JSON request, and when I'm hitting the request in the Postman, I will be getting some of the response which I can see here. See the payment reference. Under that, I'm getting all the response which I have given in the JSON form, like username Sakshi Agrawal, email ID, phone number, and all the payment details. So these are coming like first name Sakshi Agrawal, last name, like all the things are coming in the response. Similarly, when we will go to the console, it will show all the details in the consoles as well. See payment request user, that is Sakshi Agrawal, and all the details will come respectively. Okay, so this is a one of the success scenario which I run, and it's happily we are getting an happy flow. So how does it running? Let's see. Before going to it, I will explain about the URL, little bit about the URL. Here in the URL we are running in the localhost environment. So we were giving is at a localhost. 80 is a port number where the Tomcat is running. This port number we will be defining in the application.property file. So this is the application.property file of our project. Under that we have defined the service port number 8081. If we change it to 8082 or 80821 or 3 anything, the same we have to pass in the URL as well. This payments and initiate is the another reference ID. You can say request param or the API call, like request mapping to the controller. These mappings are defined in the endpoint. Endpoint is nothing but we have created a separate, let me go inside. Huh. A separate class under which we have defined a static final variables, which is like validation mapping and initiate payment. Under that we have defined this payment slash payment and slash initiate URL. Now from this we have given just endpoint and dot, we are calling that mapping. Okay, similarly for initiate payment plan, these both are coming here, and then when we are hitting to the browser, our request come in this method, that is sale. Now under this request body, what is this? Let's see, and we will go inside, open the declaration. Here we will be having two variables, which is user and payment. Under this user and payment, these are the two classes which we have created in our Pojo class. Let's see. See, this is the class which we have created as a user, which is under the Pojo package. Under this class, we will be having first name, last name, email, phone number. Similarly, we will be having a payment class, which is also under in the Pojo, and which having all the variables related to the payment method or payment. Similarly, by this all the variables which are given under these classes, we will be defining in our JSON request in the form of string. Like user, we will be passing all 4 fields. In payment, we will be passing all the 7-8 fields, right? Now by this, after getting the payment request under this, it will be coming inside this class which having with the payment request. And now in the next line we are calling a payment service validate and initiate payment. What is this validate and initiate payment? Let's go inside. It's having a payment request that is going as a request param, or you can say as a parameter we are taking under this validate method. Now going inside the validate method, it is an interface. Interface is nothing but we will be defining all the contract based classes, or we can say a one time class with a specific structure we will be defining in this payment service. And these all classes are abstract class, as interface always create an abstract class. These classes, then after creating here in the interface, we have to implement some business logic. So for that we will be creating an implementation class, service IMPL class, which is known as payment service IMPL class, which implements from payment service. Under this payment service IMPL class, we will be having the method called validate and initiate payment. In this validate initiate payment, we will be receiving the payment request which is coming from the controller, basically coming from the URL or browser, or we can say now we are passing from the postman. After receiving the payment request, it will come to the next line. Now after here we will be having something called like list of string, that is validator list. It is like we were using an stream which is known which will work as like the number of valid like in payment we will be having several numbers of field. Under that fields, each are having some of the validations like payment method, what is the method type, is it ATM or is it like phone pay, anything else, like amount, is it more than 1000 or less than 100 something. Every field having some kind of validation. So for all these validation we will be having a separate methods, or we can say separate classes to perform the validation logic over each and every field. As of now we were performing validation on provider ID. So provider ID we will be performing the validation logic. And for this validation rules we have defined a string over the class. What is the string? Let's see first. This string we are defining at the rate value over this string variable. This is this at the rate value is nothing but it is annotated to the field, like it is a parameter level that indicates a defined value expression for the annotated element. Nothing but if we having a certain kind of value, and to showcase or to represent this string value to overall the project, we will be annotating it with a specific name under this curly braces, and we are using a dollar symbol to represent this payment validation rule with a specific name. So this payment validators are nothing but all the validation which are which it is carrying, right? The field level validation all it is carrying. So we will be defining one field called payment validators under an application dot property file. In this property file we will be passing all the validating request method names, right? Payment request filter, duplicate text filter, like all these fields will be defining. Let's right now we will be working over a single validation, that is payment here it is. Right now we are working under the right now we are taking a payment validator with provider ID filter. So this we have defined a separate, and we have just commented out all the rest of the validators, and we have taken a single validator, which is provider ID filter. This provider ID filter is nothing but it's taking from now here validator filter. This validator filter will take the request, take the name of the validator from the application dot property. Here these the properties are separated with all the properties which are coming under this string list will be separated with the comma separator, and we will be passing them into the validator list. For each validator list, now here we are using an a lambda expression. It is nothing but a for loop, working the same as like for loop. Each and every validator list, one by one it will iterate, and it will be doing validation over each field. As of now we are passing a single field, that is validate id. So it will be having that, and after taking that validator from here, it will be going to the action enum get enum name. This is nothing but a validator. Action enum is nothing but a class enum which we have defined under an constant package. In this we have given the provider id filter enum as what we are getting from the application dot property, and we are mapping it with the provider id validator class. This is nothing but a separate class which we have created under the implementation. So we are passing here the class. This validator, what is that validator enum is about? Here nothing but we are defining all the wait, first I will show you the validator class. Validator class is nothing but having an a common method, that is do validate. Do validate is a method which having nothing in return but having a payment request in its parameter. What is the role of do validate is nothing but whenever we will be creating a validator interface, or we will be calling this method, it redirectly execute, and it will take as a validator enum, and it will sorry huh, it will give the string name and the validator names, right? Here we will get the validator name and the class name, both the names here we will get. If we are having several like under the validation implementation, we will be having the class. This class is known as provider id validator. This class implements the validator, implements nothing but overriding the same class and implementing some business logic under that. So in this class, we are doing do validate method, and we are passing the payment request which we are getting from the payload, and under this payment request we are fetching the provider ID. Similarly, for all the validation we will fetch same thing. For as of now we are giving a provider ID as equal case as Trustly. As we are working with the Trustly environment, we have provided the payment ID as a Trustly. Let's for example in future if we have something called Paytm or PayPal, any other clients or payment request ID, we will be passing same here. This validator will validate the request. If it is having the same validator ID, provider ID, it will go inside this if block, or if it is not matched, it will go under this else method. But here what we have written is it should be false. Like if it is true, but true not equals, that means it is false. If the condition false, then it will go under this and perform the error handling. If the condition true, it comes in this else block. As of now, we are not working with this. This we will see when we will be working with error handling. For now, we were working on the positive scenario, that is the provider ID is trustly. So it will come into the else block and we will be getting a provider validate is valid. Like we can see this message under the console, we will be having provider ID is valid. Here two times we are receiving because we have defined the provider ID in application dot property two times. So we were getting this two times. See this. So this the loop iterate two times. Now what is this? 1 second. Payment service validator get enum. Under this, after going to the validator rules, it will go and it will extend the validator method and context.getBean validate getBean class. From this context.getBean, we are taking the validation method. What is the role of context is nothing but it will direct it to the auto-wired class which is implemented as a payment class. Here we are passing the class validator emon dot get validated class. So it is redirecting to the class and then we are doing under this class we will be having a method which is do validate and it is telling to perform do validation over this class. Similarly, if we will be having another class, we will be passing here validator enum get the validator class. Like if next time the method name changes, it will be passing the second method, second class, and we will be performing do validator over that method. And also we are passing here payment request. Now here the response is created, response object is created, and we will be setting the response object and we are returning to the response object. What is this response object? Let me show you. Response object is nothing but we are passing a string. As of now we have given this, but for time being we have given it as a string, but as a user should be having a proper message code which we will be defining in the enum constant classes in future. Now this is the success scenario, but what if the validation fails? What will be the error message should come and what the performance of the application? Let's see. Let me show you the false scenario. For the false scenario, firstly, I should be hitting a request with some negative scenario. Now here I am passing, we will be having trustly, right? Now I am passing here trustly, trustly and some trustly error, trustly error. I'm passing the different name which is not similar to the if condition. Now after passing this I am sending a request, right? Here after sending a request, see here what we are getting is like internal server error. This is 500 error, but it is having a lot of stress. Like it is not a user understandable message code, right? So to make it user understandable, we will be working over the error handling. What is error handling? Let's go and see. In the payment service class, after in the implement service class, after going to the validator enum, like it will go to the validator and it will find the validation wait, payment validation, sorry, yeah, provider validation. Here in the payment request validator handler. Hmm. So in this error, if it is not a trustly, right? So it should go inside this block, which is under if condition. Under if condition, we are throwing a new object we are creating of the validator exception. What is this validator exception? This is a class which we have implemented under the package call exception, right? Payment exceptions. This class is nothing but extend from runtime exception, because this exception we are getting at the time of execution. Under this class, I have defined so many fields, which is nothing but error code, message, HTTP status, and serial version ID. As of now, don't focus on this. We will see one by one. For this, HTTP status is nothing but the status is like we are sending some responses like 500 error, 200 error. These are the mm, these are the codes which as an developer we will be sending for the success and the failure scenario. This is the separate thing. Now error code and error message is like error code we will be passing at which field we are getting the error, and for error message what type of message we should be showcasing to the user so that it he or she can understand the value which he inserted is wrong. So this method is nothing but here we have created a constructor and we have given the setter and getter method, right? So under this validator method, uh, wait, one second. Provider validator ID. After coming inside this provider validator do validation method, it will going to the validator exception, and from there we are getting a here we are passing HTTP bad request as a HTTP status and error code as a provider ID validation field and a provider ID validation field message. What is this? We will be seeing under that we are going. This provider ID we have defined in the error code enum, which is under the constant package, and this we are giving some code and bad request as a message we are passing to the user to understand that given provider ID parameter is not a valid or empty. So we were giving a proper message code to the user so that they might get understand that yeah, provider ID is missing or the invalid form. So we have defined this in under the provider ID validator field with the code. Now under this error code and error message we will be inserting these code and message. How we were doing this? Let's see. See, here we are passing the provider ID filter class, and now we are giving the validator name and validator. Sorry, this is not provider ID. So after passing it, get error code and get message. From here we are getting the error code and error message from error enum code, error enum code. So here after giving to the error code enum, the error code and error message will come by this, right? While when we are giving a provider ID validation fail, it will go and it will fetch both the things, the code and the string. It will pass here and it will set to the error code and error message, and this will come through to our payment plan validation ID, and it will be throwing the message. To work with this code, we have to give a we have to exception handling control batch. exception handler. So in the exception handler, we will be having two annotation, that is controller advisor and the controller handler. If we are providing these two annotation over the class and over the method, we are ready to show the exception. See, in this exception handler class, what we are doing is, in a idea, we will be once the user will go and will throw the validation exception, it will go it will be searching for the annotation same as defined in the exception handler, right? An exception handler, what type of code we have defined, it will be fetching for controller advisor and exception handler. Under this we will be having validator exception dot class. This method come under this, and it will go to the payment error message, and in payment error message we will be having a builder, which is a builder uh, design pattern, which is used as setting the error code and setting a message to the ex is nothing but exception, validator exception, uh, validator exception reference variable. Under that we are setting, or we are just giving the error code and error message, and we are building it with the builder framework, the design pattern. We have enabled all, both the annotation. Now after this annotation we have done, we are going here in the validate. Now we will be running the code again. So just run as a Java app. Already our code is running. As we are using a dev tool, um, any changes in the STS, it directly fetches and rerun the application. But now again we have run. Let's see. Sorry, it's already running. So first I will kill these. Okay, I will stop all the. Now again I will be rerunning the application. Run as Spring Boot application, and our application started at 8081. This is the method started. Now we are hitting the same request with the wrong provider ID, that is Trustly error ID, and now see what we will get. So yeah, now we are getting a proper error code with a proper error message that bad request giving provider ID parameter is not a valid or empty, right? And an error code, the same error code which we have defined in our program. So, and here also you can see that we are getting an error exception which is coming from this class, and provider ID is not valid. This message is coming, which we have defined in SOPLN. As we are not giving a logger, we can't see here the proper messages, but you can see this SOPLN statement, provider ID validator is not valid. So this is my first uh, validator framework and error handling related API and code. Thanks for watching, and if you like, please share and do like it. Thank you.